What if everything that you've known and practiced regarding moving on after a breakup has actually been both unhelpful and just time wasting? In my own experiences, as well as a lot of what I've seen between people out there in life, it's fascinating how effective people can actually process a breakup and move on after the breakup. And I want to explore a lot of different things that can actually help you in a much more timely manner and more effectively process everything and just move on after a breakup, right? So, first and foremost, let's just get a few preliminary things out of the way just to clear things up, right? If you've decided that it's much more of a friendship rather than a romantic interest, you can do what you want with that, right? Whatever path that you choose to take, if you choose to just be friends, right, and you can both handle that, fine, right? This is more so for the people that have been with somebody and have developed deep, serious feelings for the person, right? Maybe they've been together for a long period of time, maybe not even a long period of time. They've just grown a connection with the person, right? So, first and foremost, block, delete, and go no contact with the individual. Take this from somebody who's had experience with this. I'm not going to go into the logistics of my own relationships, but I have had experience with this, right? Meanwhile, I've learned to believe that this whole process post breakup and like moving on is supposed to take an absurd amount of time. I don't believe that anymore. I actually consider that to be bullshit, quite honestly. Um, if you want a smooth transition post breaking up, right? Like moving on and everything, not repeatedly on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, seeing anything that has to do with that person is absolutely crucial, right? Social media, phone number, this, that, and the other, get the fuck away from it. Block, delete, go no contact, period, right? That is absolutely crucial, right? And for the longest time, I actually had a very hard time doing that, right? And then after I practiced it twice, I'm like, this is the fucking way. It's wonderful. And I understand that this can be very challenging for a lot of people. Um, Before I move on from this part of this whole subject, I want to say that, yeah, it might feel uncomfortable to block, delete, and go no contact with the person, right? You might think to yourself, well, what if this person comes back around, this, that, and the other? Quite honestly, you really don't want them to. I can fast forward that for you and tell you that the best thing that can happen for you is one, they like discard you or they get rid of you, they break up with you, this, that, and the other, right? The second best thing that can happen for you is if they stay the fuck away from you. Because, I mean, quite honestly, you blinked and you're here. And that was years and years ago, right? The same fucking thing's going to happen. I understand the heartache is real, right? You're like, oh my God, this hurts so bad. Yeah, it's all valid, it's all real. But the reality of the matter is that if you go through this process, starting with the block, delete, and go no contact thing that I'm talking about, you're going to wake up, maybe even, months down the line, feeling completely different. It worked for me. Period. So, first and foremost, block, delete, go no contact. Now, this next part is actually what I would argue to be one of the most important aspects of this entire process. There's another thing here in terms of relationships and connection called attachment. There's a reason why attachment happen. It's not just because we're humans and we form attachments to people, right? We also subconsciously and unconsciously create meaning around that person in our lives, and that is what makes the attachment even more real and serious, right? For instance, you guys met at 11:11. Oh my god, look at that, magic numbers, sweet. Yeah, cool, whatever. Oh, they said that I'm their soulmate. Oh, they said that I'm their twin flame. Cool, whatever. There are far more important things than somebody telling you that they're your or that you're their twin flame or soulmate. Quite honestly, and I can get into that in a second. Um, so the meaning that you have ascribed or attached to a person goes more into the molding of the attachment that has been created for them in your life. And the attachment is honestly one of the biggest pieces in terms of getting past that person. Dissolving that attachment can really help you productively move on from that person. Because like for instance, I've seen it said before. I'm somewhat kind of like utilizing what somebody else has done and said. But anyway, imagine I create attachment around this, right? Like very serious attachment. But the reason that there's so much attachment, the reason that there's so much attachment, excuse my fast talking, is because of the meaning that I've created around it. If I can identify that meaning and realize that it's just meaning and there's no inherent meaning to it, the more easily I can just let go and then it's gone, right? Identify the meaning, understand what it is, dissolve that and be like, oh, wait a second, that's just meaning. There's no actually inherent no matter how much magical thinking has gone into the entire construct of the person, there's no inherent meaning there. We create the meaning, right? Whether subconsciously, unconsciously, or whatever it is, right? We create that meaning. When you can identify that meaning, you can more easily dissolve it and actually let go. And also another thing is that for people who have based their worth extrinsically and tied their worth to this person, the sooner you can understand and see your worth as intrinsic, the sooner you can actually let that person go. Because one of the reasons you were so attached to that person was because you tied your sense of self-worth extrinsically to that person. That might be another reason why you're so attached to them, because that meaning has been created around it. um so beyond the whole twin flame soulmate magical thinking stuff, right? A healthier way to approach individuals in terms of relationships is healthy boundaries, making sure that they are individuated, they are differentiated, they are their own autonomous individual that is separate from other systems, other family systems, other friend group systems, all that kind of stuff, right? Individuation is having your own sense of identity that is separate from other people, thoughts, feelings, opinions, um, all of that kind of stuff, right? And differentiation is very much self and other, right? If they don't have that, there's a good chance that it's not going to be a healthy dynamic, quite honestly, in my opinion, based on everything that I've learned and even practiced for myself. Moving on, um, focusing on yourself is one of the most important things that you can do in this process. What do you actually want for yourself, right? Like it's so important to understand that like you have this life to live and you have choices to make for yourself. Like, do you actually know what it is that you want? Are you just in this relationship with this person because, I don't know, it's comfortable and familiar, which could very well have to do with your family of origin stuff, right? Why do you actually what is it that you actually want for yourself? That's the question to ask, right? Um and really on a massive like perspective game, there's a good chance that this person has become like the center of your fucking universe, which is also fucking unhealthy. Um, there are millions, even billions of people on the face of this planet, right? Um, there are loads of other opportunities for you to have a relationship with somebody else, and that's just the reality of it, right? Um, so like perspective is fucking important. Like I've actually been with somebody who gaslighted me into believing. I mean, I saw it for what it is, of course, but um, they manipulated the whole narrative, and they were like, "Oh, I'm basically the only one for you." Yeah, right. Anyway, um, and not only what it is that you want for yourself, what is it that you actually want in a relationship, right? I've been through different relationships in my life, and for the first time, I'm actually like considering what it is that I want in a relationship for myself, not just taking on relationships that feel familiar to childhood, that feel familiar to everything else I've had. Right? That's important. This opportunity to like be by yourself and to spend time by yourself is absolutely precious and wonderful. Like you can actually learn so much more about yourself and what it is that you want in terms of relationships, right? Like, you might think that the relationship that you had was the absolute best thing that there is out there for you. I used to believe this about relationships that I didn't realize years and years ago were actually exceedingly unhealthy and dysfunctional. Um, and that's just the reality of it, right? Considering what it is, what type of relationship do you want, right? Maybe, for instance, there was this relationship that you had, you deployed an anxious attachment style, right? Maybe you felt like you needed to spend all your time with that person, right? Well, what if you were to actually find out that you don't have to carry relationships like that? You could actually be comfortable and feel safe and happy in a relationship where you get to spend so much more time to yourself fulfilling the things that you actually like to do because this person's not consuming all of your time, right? I used to believe that couples, I mean, don't get me wrong, you can have whatever kind of relationship you want to. I'm not here to judge anybody, right? But I used to be in relationships where I spent like all of my time with the person. It is actually wonderful and beautiful to have your own time and boundaried space to yourself, right? Which brings me to my next point. Like, have you ever considered boundaries around time that you spend by yourself, right? With nobody, just yourself. And as well as, boundaries around the time that you spend with that person. How much time do you spend with that person? Do you actually have enough time to yourself? Right? I never used to consider that for myself in relationships that I was in years ago, right? And now I'm realizing like this is fucking cool. Getting to have time to myself, getting to explore myself, getting to know myself and learn about myself more. So many people out there do not get to have enough time to themselves simply because they don't grant that for themselves. They're in relationships that are fucking consuming them, right? Um, which brings me to my next point. Do you feel like the person that you either are about to break up with or just got out of the relationship with or you were broken up by, do you feel like they completed you or they complimented you? There's a good chance that it was probably a dynamic of completion. This is not healthy. Relationships are not there to complete us. That is not healthy. A lot of people do hold relationships that are like that, but it is not healthy. Healthy relationships complement you. It is a mutual give and take. You don't give too much, they don't give too much. It is a balance, right? Understanding that is absolutely crucial for this, right? And the last thing to add to this really is that there are examples of people out there that go through these kinds of processes. I mean, quite honestly, going back to the very first, or one of the very first things that I talked about in this video, you basically blinked and now you're here, right? Middle school is gone, high school is gone. I don't know if you went to college, but it doesn't matter. All of that stuff is gone. That was eons ago, right? At least if you're like, 30, 40, 50 plus, however old you are, right? Life goes by seemingly in the blink of a fucking eye, right? Do you really want to spend so much time trying to move on from a relationship when you don't have to? If you deploy certain things that can really aid in this process of moving forward, right? I used to believe, I was even told that, like, oh, it takes this amount of time to get over a person. Um, what I would say is that if you get out of a relationship, it's helpful to at least take a year off. But I don't believe that it takes a year to get over somebody, even if you were with them for a fucking long time. Shit, focus on yourself. Like all of your conscious awareness, just bring it back to yourself. Like, you have a fucking life to live. You have so many dope fucking things to do in this life, right? Like, do you really want to get to like 60 or 70 or 80 regretting all of this rumination and all of this dwelling and all this time that you spent trying to move on from this person? To really put it into perspective, and honestly, coming from my own experience, because I have dwelled, and I've also just fucking blocked, deleted, and gone no fucking contact, you know? And when I say that it's fucking better to block, delete, and go no fucking contact, I fucking mean it, right? The emotions cloud you. That's a fucking real experience. They do, yes. Like, the emotions are like, oh no, don't go away. We need to stay here. This is comfortable and familiar. Don't leave. Just stay here. Maybe they'll come back. You don't want them to come back, because if they do, they're likely going to waste more of your fucking time. Remember, you blinked and now you're here, right? And the best thing that you can do for yourself, the most healthy and beneficial thing that you can do for yourself, is do the necessary reflecting and be like, I can do better for myself, period. And if I choose that, just move forward and don't look back. There are so many fucking options out there. I'm telling you this from my own personal my bleh. Slow down, Chris. I'm telling you this from my own personal experience, and it's real. It's real. Like, look at this massive world out there full of like options and opportunities. You can do whatever you choose to do, but I can tell you right now that if you choose to take your fucking, well, not take your time with yourself. But if you choose to wallow, if you choose to ruminate, if you choose to wait around, you're going to waste your fucking time. I understand the person meant a lot to you, but do you realize what I just said? The person meant a lot to you. Sure, they did, but that was also meaning that you created for them. One of the most important part of this one of the most important aspects of this entire process, I would argue, is that whole matter of meaning. Yeah, but they meant so much to me. They did. Cool, I get it. You created that meaning. There was no inherent meaning, no matter how much magical thinking went into that. No matter how many magical numbers, 1111. Oh, we met here at this time. Oh, it's meant to be. Um, I don't know. That's all magical thinking. See it for what it is. Dissolve that and free yourself. It's possible.